Assalamu alaikum, peace be with you, and Ramadan Mubarak. I hope you're enjoying Ramadan, and we thank Allah that He's given us another month of Ramadan to enjoy. So, in this month of Ramadan, we're dealing with 30 reasons for being Muslim. Today, I want to look at the belief that Allah is with us wherever we happen to be. Is that a good reason for being a Muslim? Definitely. Let's explore that a little bit further. You see, there is a problem in human thinking. Sometimes we go to extremes, either one extreme or the other extreme. On one extreme, on this question, people think of God as being so remote, so far away, like inaccessible. And on the other extreme, people think that, okay, God is here on earth, and they try to imagine God like as a human being walking on the earth, sometimes even as an animal. And these are two extremes that we steer clear of, but we have a balanced position in between. So if we go on the one extreme, then we might be like the deists in the Middle Ages who thought that God is so transcendent, God is so other. It's as if He created the world, and just like a clock will work after it is wound up on its own, then, in a similar way, God created the universe, put the laws of the physical laws in motion, and the universe is just functioning according to those laws of physics, and God does not have any further involvement in the world. So you may as well not bother praying to God, because He's not going to change anything in the world for you. And so people started thinking you may as well live as if God does not exist, because maybe there isn't a God anyway, and even if there is, He has nothing to do with the world. So that's one extreme. On the other extreme, thinking that God is like a human being or an animal or something, or one of the creatures of God, that immediately limits God. It means that God is here but not there. And everybody's conception of God is going to be different. So it looks like God is worshipped like as this human being by some people, and as this other human being by some other people. And then quarrels ensue as to whose God is bigger than the other God. In any case, these conceptions show that God is limited. And one is going to wonder, like, if God is here walking on the earth, who's taking care of Mars and Jupiter? Or who's taking care of, outside of the Milky Way galaxy, the entire cosmos? How can a human being who walked in, let's say, Palestine 2,000 years ago, be responsible for the creation of the entire cosmos? And who is governing and supervising the entire cosmos while he is here sleeping, let's say, on a boat? So these questions will arise. But if we think of God in a balanced position, thinking that God is with us wherever we happen to be, then this gets rid of all of these problems. So how does the Quran then solve this problem? Well, the Quran shows us on the one hand that God is transcendent, and on the other hand that God is here with us. Surah 87, for example, verse number 1 says, Sabbihisma rabbikal a'la. Glory be to your Lord, the transcendent one. And there are verses of the Quran which seem to indicate that God is in the heavens. Surah 67, for example, in verse number 16, speaks of God as man fis sama, the one who is in the heavens. And at the same time, the Quran indicates that God encompasses everything. So, for example, Surah 4, verse number 126, it mentions one of the names of God. He is Muhit, which means that He encompasses everything. Now, in the Quran, the verses dealing with fasting, as we are fasting now in the month of Ramadan, are in the second chapter of the Quran, from verses 183 to 187. In the midst of that is verse number 186, which says, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. When my servants ask you about me, I am near. So it means that from the moment we're asking, like, where is, about God, God is already here, present and near with us. Another verse of the Quran indicates that Allah is closer to us than our jugular veins. That's in Surah 50, verse number 16. And finally, let me wrap this up by saying that Surah 8, verse number 24, indicates that Allah hovers between a human being and that human being's heart. So that means that God is very close to us, accessible. The hadiths give a similar impression. On the one hand, God is in the heavens, and on the other hand, God is very close to us. So He listens to our prayer, He responds as we are reciting our prayer, He responds and He accepts our prayer, and so on. So this is the balance between the two extremes. On the one extreme, there is the thinking that God is so out of this world, And on the other extreme, there is the thinking that God is so in this world that he's like a human being or like an animal or something like this walking around here on earth. So the balance is there. How does this balance help us from the Quran and the prophetic sayings? It helps us, one, to know that God is with us even in our moments of difficulty. No matter where we are, no matter where we're trapped, God is there with us. If miners are trapped in a mine somewhere, God is there with them, and He will get them out of their difficulty by one way or another. Of course, God will use means and bring the help from wherever it is, even the help of other human beings, but God is the one who is there with us, supervising the whole thing and bringing about the good results. The idea that God is with us wherever we are also helps us to avoid sins, because we know that we can hide from people, we can hide from every surveillance camera, but we cannot hide from God. And so human beings have in their nature that we don't like to be observed while we are doing something wrong. When we know that God is observing us wherever we are, even behind locked doors, that will help us to stay away from sins. And moreover, finally, third benefit is that it means that Muslims can go anywhere in the world knowing that God is there. So whether we're in the Arctic or we go all the way down to Antarctica, okay, it's going to be very cold there. We may not want to live there, but if it so happens that we live there, then we know that we are not away from God and God is there with us as well. So these are very good reasons for believing that God is with us, but it's also, more importantly, a good reason for being a Muslim. So join us again tomorrow for another reason why we should be a Muslim. Thank you for watching. Peace be with you, and Ramadan Mubarak. Continue to enjoy this blessed month. We're taking Let the Quran Speak to the next level by establishing the Muslim Media Hub. This Ramadan, please support us to help us get this project off the ground. Please visit QuranSpeaks.com.